All right, welcome to my third video. This will be my first official book review. A couple things before I get started. First of all, I apologize for sort of the grainy resolution. I think I mentioned this in one of my earlier videos. I don't have great software right now. I did download something that might help brighten the image a little bit. Of course, by the time when I'm recording this, it looks pretty grainy and great to me. Hopefully by the time you're watching it, it'll look at least a little bit brighter. But I appreciate your patience in that regard. Secondly, I'm thinking of changing my name. Right now I have the Book Doctor because I thought it'd be fun to have different puns, like when I do a book review, say something like diagnosis, condition critical, but I don't know. As I was thinking about it, making those first two videos, I was thinking that sounds a little cheesy. So I might change my name at some point. But anyway, let's get to the review. So today I'm going to review a book that I recently read that is a fairly new release called There Is No, sorry, got some glare there from the light. There Is No Antimemetics Division by an author whose pen name is qntm, although his real name is Sam Hughes. From what I understand, this book was published in installments as part of a web series in the early 2000s, and then eventually it was released, I think in 2020 as a fix-up novel, and then it was heavily revised for a 2025 release with an official publisher. I believe it's Ballantine Books. Now, I said in my first two videos that I am not in any way that I really like genre fiction when it's good. I love Project Hail Mary, loved The Martian, neither of which I actually expected to like very much, but I very much enjoy both of those. I like Agatha Christie. For mystery, I love Raymond Chandler and Dashiell Hammett are awesome. I do find it challenging sometimes to find good science fiction and fantasy, and it's not because I dislike science fiction and fantasy, it's because so often I'm disappointed with the execution. And unfortunately, this book is exactly all the things that I fear when I pick up a science fiction book or an author that I've never tried before, or in this case, both. So, just right off the bat, I thought this book was horrible. Horrible. Very little of redemptive value. Although I will say, it gets off to a good start. It has an opening chapter that's almost a little bit like a Bond, like a scene from a Bond movie, with like a science fiction twist. The second chapter was okay. It was getting a little bit quirky in the second chapter, especially, but it was okay. Third chapter, I don't remember what it was offhand, but I think the first few chapters were all right. The problem is, even at the beginning, the chapters were interesting in isolation. They didn't really make any sense, divorced from context, but they were interesting. And I kind of figured that as it went on, it would get better and all these kind of discordant elements would come together, but they didn't. Now, the thing is, even at the beginning, even though I say they were good in isolation, it was almost like if you look up a scene from a movie on YouTube and you think it looks interesting and it's engaging, and you think, you know what, I would like to see the whole movie and how this fits in the context of the whole movie. That's what some of these scenes were like, even the good ones. The problem is that there really is no context. I mean, as the book goes on, it becomes less and less coherent. There was really no characterization almost at all. I mean, the first half is about a woman named Marie Quinn. The second half is about her husband. In both cases, I mean, there is almost zero character development with either of these characters. Marie Quinn sort of has like a cliche kind of let's get to it sort of attitude, very much dedicated to her job, and that's about it. I mean, her personality, her character development ends there. The husband has virtually no character development whatsoever, other than the fact that he loves his wife and he likes playing the violin, which, as far as I can remember, was almost entirely irrelevant to everything that happened in the book anyway. It reminded me a little bit of that movie, I'm Thinking of Ending Things, on Netflix, which I saw several years ago, whenever it came out on Netflix. I want to say it was written by Charlie Kaufman. And that was one of those movies, kind of like this book, where it starts more or less grounded, and then it just progressively becomes more and more bizarre, more and more incoherent, until it rises to a kind of fever dream that makes almost no sense. I mean, everything is almost completely abstracted. Nightmarish, nonsensical images become more and more frequent, and that's exactly what this book is like. And by the end, I didn't know what was going on. It was one of those books where it kind of seemed like the author just sort of did whatever he wanted. There were no clear rules in this world. I mean, anytime there's science fiction or fantasy, and this is even true of literary fiction, there has to be a certain degree of established rules, some kind of internal plausibility. Sometimes that plausibility can be stretched a little bit. Sometimes the story can still hit those emotional beats without perhaps being perfectly ironed out with that internal plausibility. This book had no emotional beats. It had no internal plausibility. It was all over the place, and in my opinion, it was a complete disaster. I mean, I would maybe give it 1 out of 10 because those first chapters were kind of entertaining, but to be honest, I'm kind of inclined to a 0 out of 10. Thought it was so bad. So I don't know if there's much more to say. That is my review of There Is No Antimemetics Division. If you read it and you enjoyed it, I would be more than happy to hear your counterpoints. I did notice it has like a 4 out of 5 on Goodreads, which is an impressive score. Maybe it just wasn't for me, but 1 out of 10. The end.